Guess who's back? Back again. Brock is back. Fighting men. Yep, UFC stunned the world back in June when they announced that Brocktopus Lesnar, the human rainstorm except with razor blades instead of rain, would be fighting Mark Hunt at UFC 200. What? Said the world. Why in the name of sweet baby Jesus would WWE allow such a thing, especially just before SummerSlam? Is it in exchange for Ronda Rousey? Is it for Conor McGregor? Is it because what Brock wants, Brock sure as gets? Who knows? And while everyone is all a tizzy about Lesnar's return, let's not forget that there might be a few things that UFC might not be that proud of with their latest acquisition. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 things UFC want you to forget about Brock Lesnar. Number 10, he lost his debut. Brock Lesnar made his UFC debut in 2008 at UFC 81. The man he fought was Frank Mir. If you believe the Lesnar hype extolled by Paul Heyman, that Lesnar is the beast, the conqueror, the gigantic asteroid that fell from the sky and killed the fucking dinosaurs, then you'd think, well, Brock must have won this fight, right? Wrong. Lesnar was submitted to a knee bar in 1 minute and 30 seconds. Number 9, his fight record wasn't that good. Not only did Lesnar lose his first match, but his record isn't exactly that of a world beater. He won 5 matches but lost 3. Now, I have all the physical strength of a mouse fart, but winning just under 63% of your matches doesn't exactly scream unstoppable juggernaut, especially when you consider that 2 of those losses were his most recent fights. After saying that, I hope I never meet Brock Lesnar because he's going to brush his teeth with me. But Adam, you say he was suffering from an illness during those matches. Well, number 8, he was over the illness before his last loss. Diverticulitis is an inflammation of the colon, and frankly, I don't want to think about Brock Lesnar's bowels. I can imagine they're like a Wild West saloon, only instead of cowboys, it's filled with broken glass and feral raccoons. This sickness is what all the pundits and Lesnar himself blame for his twin losses at the end of his UFC run. Lesnar says he's feeling 100% now, though, that the illness is behind him and that he's in the best shape of his life. Except problem is, he said that before his fight with Alistair Overeem, which he lost. It's now 4.5 years later, and oh dear. Number 7, his push to the title. Brock Lesnar became UFC heavyweight champion by defeating Randy Couture because Brock Lesnar saw the belt, he wanted the belt, and he decided to take the belt. I mean, that's how all things happen in Suplex City. There's only one law and it's martial. It's a good thing he won it as well because his push to the title was total BS. UFC is grounded in legitimacy, or at least it's supposed to be. By that logic, a fighter's contendership for the title is supposed to be based on his fight record and ranking, not his star power. Lesnar had only won 1 fight before contending for the belt. Sure, the fight felt huge, but maybe UFC would like you to forget that they use wrestling logic rather than MMA logic to make that bout. Speaking of, number 6, a wrestler holds the buy rate record. Yep, you know those phony wrestlers all the purist MMA fans hate? Well, even the wunderkind Conor McGregor himself couldn't top the buy rates brought in by, yep, Brock Lesnar. All the UFC fans wanted him to fail, this fake wrestler coming in to fight for real, and his drawing power still hasn't been topped, not by McGregor, not by Rousey versus Holm. Nothing has beat the 1,600,000 buys raked in at UFC 100, main evented by human killer whale Brockleberry Lesnar. That has got to sting. Just a little bit that some of UFC's greatest successes have come with the help of pro wrestling. Number 5, the journalist controversy. This isn't explicitly to do with Brock himself, but rather the news breaking of his return. Still, it's been an absolute PR nightmare for UFC, so it definitely belongs on the list. The news of Lesnar signing with UFC was broken by Ariel Helwani, a much respected and one of the most popular journalists in MMA because of his live interviews. UFC were hoping to break the Lesnar news themselves, but when Helwani did it, Dana lost his and had the man forcibly removed from UFC 199 shortly before giving him a lifetime ban from having his press credentials for their events. It made Dana White and his company look pettier than a Faloo. Decades-old yogurt references. We got 'em, folks! And after a storm of bad publicity, the ban was rescinded mere days after White said Helwani would never return as long as he's in charge. How embarrassing. Number 4, setting up an angle with The Undertaker. Did you know that Brock Lesnar's wrestled The Undertaker once or twice? You may have missed it, but yes, the Lord High Chancellor of Suplex City and Humphrey Ghost have mixed it up once or twice. But years before that, they had a confrontation at a UFC show. After UFC 121, in which Brock lost to Cain Velasquez, the two had a stare down while Undertaker was giving an interview. Burt Deadland then asked Brock, "You wanna go?" Turns out years later this confrontation was staged, as WWE were hoping to, amongst other rumors, have Lesnar work in some capacity at WrestleMania 27, perhaps in a special guest referee role in Taker's then planned match with Wade Barrett. Dana White must not have appreciated WWE working booking an angle on his shows and publicly stated that Lesnar would not be at WrestleMania in any capacity. Number 3, the homophobia. Well, this is just always worth mentioning. It didn't happen while Brock was fighting for UFC, but in 2004 he delivered the infamous soundbite in front of a journalist from ESPN. "I don't like gays, write that down in your little notebook." Again, not on UFC's watch. He didn't start with them until 4 years later, but still such a blatant homophobic outburst, especially in the aftermath of the attack in Orlando. You know that UFC and WWE are united in the hope that people forget that Brock can't stand homosexuals. Number 2, rejecting UFC for WWE twice. There's nothing sadder than when someone vies for another's affections and they repeatedly knock him back. For example, King Ross keeps leaving me flowers and asking to take me out for dancing and a lime soda, but I just don't feel that way about him. Similarly, UFC might want you to forget that Brock has turned down offers from them to go back and do his phony wrestling not once, but twice. In 2012 and once again right down to the wire in WrestleMania weekend 2015. Once, you can stomach, but after UFC pitched itself outside Brock's window with a boombox for the second time, you just want to take them by the arm and whisper, "Come away, UFC. Just, no, come on. Come away now. Just come away." And number 1, they need him. Okay, well, let's quantify that. UFC 200 has an absolutely stacked card, including the champion versus champion fight between Cormier and Jones. But after the Conor McGregor debacle, the card needed something, that extra novelty factor to make it feel like a show worthy of being number 200. And for that, UFC had to make one sweet offer to WWE to use one of their wrestlers to complete their card. UFC fans pride themselves on the legitimacy of the sport and how the company's popularity has started to dwarf that of WWE's. So it has to hurt, just a tiny bit, that a wrestler is the final piece of the puzzle, even if it is a man who looks like he could beat Jupiter in a fight. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.